5G on my phone, 5G on this coat, like, oh yeah. Fiji on my stones, you can't even look too close, yeah. I can't break the news, I can't break it, I can't hold you. If you need a shoulder, you can cry on, I can hold you. Chrome marks on my shades and my
air hoses.
Alright, good.
Contrary to belief,
Ain't gonna cap. We gonna go to some of the shits in here. Ain't gonna cap. We gonna go to some of the shits in here. What time is this? 2:44. Shit, what y'all niggas on, bro? Y'all niggas got work tomorrow? Y'all trying to stay up all night? I don't got shit to do tomorrow. Even do 10. Ain't gonna lie. Nah, you work tomorrow for sure. Damn, I feel you. Alright, we gonna run like 2 more or some shit. Mom finds out her daughter is a psycho teen killer. The fuck? He's actually bullying? Alright, bet.
air hoses are extremely dangerous, although
whatever.
they're often used for filling up car tires, blowing out dust in keyboards, and inflating huge bouncy castles. They also carry enough pressure to tear through skin, damage internal organs, or even be fatal if mishandled. On a calm morning in May 2011, a truck driver in New Zealand was going about his daily routine. He climbed onto the rigging between his truck's cabin trailer, a place he'd stood countless times before. But in one unlucky moment, his boot slipped, and instead of falling on steady ground, the man fell backwards straight onto his compressed air hose. The brass nozzle punctured him through his left buttock, and in an instant, high-pressurized air about 100 pounds per square inch began flooding into his body. As if it were straight out of a cartoon, the man's body began to inflate in size. Air forced its way beneath his muscles and fat, separating his tissue like it were sheets of paper. His chest tightened, his skin stretched, and his face ballooned into a grotesque puff. Co-workers who happened to cross his path screamed in terror. They quickly rushed to his side, shocked at the mortifying sight. They shut off the air supply and carefully rolled him onto his side, knowing his lungs and heart were under pressure. Ice packs were pressed against his swollen neck and chest to try and ease the suffocating strain. Ambulance crews arrived as fast as they could, but when they found the man, he could barely breathe. His body literally doubled in size. It was full with so much air that every time an EMT tried to put a needle in his body to start an IV, the air would just push it right out. Doctors later compared his skin to feeling like densely packed bubble wrap just waiting to explode. But luckily for this man, he didn't explode. It took days for the air to escape his tissue, but against all odds, he survived by farting it all out of his body.
Wow.
Others, however, wouldn't be as lucky. Like the time a poultry worker in Mississippi got carried away with his friend while horseplaying, and for some odd reason, he decided to...
Bro, like, would you want to live after that shit? Because that nigga's eyes popped out. Like, bro, that's crazy.
Stick an air hose in his, yeah. The air pressure he decided in Mississippi got carried away with his friend while horseplaying, and for some odd reason, he decided to stick an air hose in his, so wouldn't be as lucky. Like the time a poultry worker in Mississippi got carried away with his friend while horseplaying, and for some odd reason, he decided to stick an air hose in his, yeah. The air pressure from the hose was so immense that he blew up from the inside, rupturing most of his organs in the process. Surprisingly, there are a lot of cases like this, so even though they're fun to play with, air hoses are dangerous. Always keep them in safe places and please don't misuse them.
So niggas get bored and they shove air hoses in they man's butts? Yo, yeah, niggas are wildin', bro. Niggas are wildin'. What the fuck are we doing? Niggas get bored so they shove air hoses in they man's anuses. Like, what the fuck are we... I don't know, bro.
A broken heart. It shouldn't be, but true love often feels like one of the rarest things to find in life. And once you find it, you never want it to leave you.
Man, gang, I ain't gonna lie, that's... Bro, that's my... Bro, I hope that nigga dies, gang. Like, what the fuck?
Such wasn't the case for a man who was forced to read his wife's eulogy at her funeral after he supported her for a 4-year battle against ovarian cancer. The pair were inseparable. The man became engaged to her when he was just 21 years old, and the two would go on to be married for 30. 4 years. That's nearly twice my age. And now, instead of making more memories with the companion of his life, he was making funeral speeches and writing thank you letters to those who came to the service. Wow. The amount of exertion something like this can have on one's heart is no joke. Only mere moments after the eulogy, the man was found slumped over in his house, in the middle of writing thank you letters. He had literally passed away from a broken heart. Doctors said his grief was so profound that it caused him to have a heart attack. And this wasn't just an isolated incident, it's a phenomenon that happens to many others as well.
Damn, bro.
It's called broken heart syndrome, or Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. It's a temporary heart condition triggered by intense emotional or mental stress that makes the heart's main pumping chamber weaken, causing it to mimic the symptoms of a literal heart attack. Soda cans. Imagine that it's a hot summer day and you've done nothing but bask in the sun's overwhelming rays of heat all morning. You're parched, so you go indoors to get yourself a nice cold can of soda. But, to your disappointment, none of the drinks were put away in the fridge. They were left out on the table, so now they're just warm and gross. You come up with an idea. You take one of the cans of soda and throw it into the freezer in order to speed up the cooling of the beverage. To wait for it to cool down, you go and watch some YouTube and then end up falling asleep. Hours pass, and you forget that you left the soda in there. Eventually, when you wake up and stumble across your fridge again, you remember that you put a soda in its freezer. Hoping that the drink hasn't frozen solid, you quickly take it out of the freezer, crack it open, and boom. Just like that. The can explodes like a hand grenade right in front of your face. This is a real case that happened to a boy in China on August 25th, 2012. Luckily for this boy, however, medical professionals were able to save him and nurse him back to health. Frozen soda cans are extremely dangerous, and in some cases, they're even lethal. Freezing them forces the carbon dioxide in the soda to create tightly packed reservoirs inside of the can that store high amounts of energy similar to a bomb. So keep your soda in the fridge, and if you do put it in the freezer, don't forget to take it out so that you don't go boom, boom.
Damn, bro, so you could just freeze a soda, and then after freezing the soda, you could just... Wow. Damn. I'm glad I ain't never did no dumbass shit like that.
Gooning.
Wow.
Hi, how are you?
Alright, they had no reason to put this shit in there. They had no reason to put this shit in there. Hey, bro, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Who does open it so that you know that shit frozen? Like, I'm not doing that shit. I'm not stupid, nigga.
Yeah. Sir,
like, why?
You need to leave.
Yeah. Apparently...
The look on this nigga face when she said, "You need to leave." Yeah. Nobody deserved to die. But again, why did he do that? Like, why did he do that? I ain't gonna lie. Why the fuck did he do that shit? Why did he pull up like that? And why did that nigga open a soda can like that, bro? Cause the hoes be serving coffee naked? Hell nah, what the fuck? Shit like that can't even happen. Nah, word, ain't no bitch that bad make you spank your shampoo. That's crazy.
There's a couple of ways that gooning can take you out. But, so that this video doesn't get demonetized, I'll be swift on the topic. The risk of passing away from this is extremely low, especially if you're a healthy individual. However, if you're struggling with any underlying cardiovascular diseases, it's possible that excessiveness could trigger a heart attack, arrhythmia, or a stroke. On September 18th, in 2019, a heartbroken teen suffering from depression would find himself unable to ignore how his last Valentine's Day went. I don't really know how, but he snuck past his parents and locked himself away in a room where he then gooned himself to destruction. He gooned 56 times until he had a heart attack.
Wow.
However, I'd take this case with a huge gulp of salt, because due to the bizarreness of his passing...
That RNG, bro. Like, why do you even goon 56 times? How the fuck do you goon 56 times? Oh, I muted your eyes.
Gulp of salt till he had a heart attack. However, I'd take this case with a huge gulp of salt, because due to the bizarreness of his passing, tons of media outlets have exaggerated how he went out, often claiming that he did it 100 times and ripped his thing off his body.
What?
Which is obviously just not true.
Oh,
Vending machines.
That's crazy.
He was infuriated.
No, obviously.
A man had just put the only dollar he had on him into the vending machine, and his snack was stuck inside of the machine floating in limbo. The problem had a simple solution. Just shake the stupid clanker. The man began rocking the vending machine back and forth over and over again until his snack finally fell and was free for him to take. Unfortunately, however, it wouldn't be the only thing to fall. The 1,200-pound vending machine would also tip over on him and crush his neck against a wall. The man would be pinned against the wall, struggling to keep the machine from fully flattening his neck. But sadly, his efforts would prove to be fruitless. He wouldn't survive to see the next day. More people pass away from vending machines than they do shark attacks. There's about 2 to 4 casualties from vending machines each year in the US. So, if the machine isn't
your
giving...
reaction time is just ass. Like, how do you see a vending machine? First off, when you're shaking the vending machine, why don't you make sure you put it down all the way first? Why are you picking it up? Just, like, you feel me? Like, fight or flight ass. Not literally. Like, bro, how the hell do you do that? I don't know.
Up your snack. You can get angry at it, you can swear at it, but don't get into a fight with it. 10 out of 10 times, you will lose.
That is great.
Sudden choking. Imagine this. You're hanging out with your friends, chilling at a party, and conversing with other people while losing track of time. And then that's when it hits you. You start choking on literally nothing. It's called a laryngospasm.
Literally, bro.
It's a
Like,
sudden, violent, and involuntary spasm of your vocal cords that is so forceful that it entirely blocks your body's airways. Mild cases of losing track of time. And then that's when it hits you. You start choking on literally nothing. It's called a laryngospasm. It's a sudden, violent, and involuntary spasm of your vocal cords that is so forceful that it entirely blocks your body's airways. Mild cases of laryngospasms last just a few seconds, while more intense cases can last up to a few minutes.
Wow.
Which is pretty horrifying when you think about it. 1 second, you're chilling on some mobile games. The next second, you're literally fighting for your life and suffocating on nothing.
That's crazy.
If this ever happens to you, don't panic or try to gasp for extra air. Remaining calm helps your muscles relax. Take small sips of water to clear any possible irritants causing the spasm and apply pressure on the soft spots behind your earlobes. It'll help your vocal cords ease up. And most importantly, seek professional help.
Wow.
Restaurant signs.
That's crazy.
In January
What?
2023, a swarm of fierce winds ripped through Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
A family arrived at their favorite local Denny's to start their morning off with some warm pancakes and coffee, an entirely questionable option for breakfast.
Wow.
No offense.
Wow.
However, towering above the Denny's parking lot was an 80-foot sign weighing more than a ton. To most, the sign was a glowing beacon for bacon, eggs, and pancakes. But for this family, it became the last thing they'd ever see. A 72-year-old woman sat in the car with her husband and daughter when a storm outside struck. The pole groaned under the wind's pressure, then, without warning, it suddenly snapped. The massive sign came crashing down on the car, crushing the roof and trapping the family inside. Unfortunately, the 72-year-old lady didn't survive its impact, and her husband would also go on to pass away from the injuries the accident gave him. There are multiple cases where restaurant signs, gas station signs, and storefronts fall on people. So, never be discouraged to keep your distance from an unstable-looking board that's giving you an off feeling when you're entering a business.
I swear you can't do shit.
It might just save your life.
Like what?
Sneezing. We all do it. You're sitting in a job interview, or in a library, or in front of your date, and then you feel it coming. The tingling sensation that tickles the small hairs inside of your nose, letting you know that you're about to sneeze. The natural thing to do is to let that sneeze fly.
Like, what the fuck?
Well, while trying to not make a mess. But often do the small hairs inside of your nose, feel it coming. The tingling sensation that tickles the small hairs inside of your nose, letting you know that you're about to sneeze. The natural thing to do is to let that sneeze fly. Well, while trying to not make a mess. But oftentimes instead, we just find ourselves stifling the sneeze. Don't. My anatomy teacher in high school always told us to break the habit, and honestly, it makes sense as to why. During a sneeze, if your mouth and nose are both closed, the pressure generated in the airways can surpass more than 20 times its normal amount. And in a recent case during 2023, a man sick with hay fever held in his sneeze by instinctively pinching his nose and closing his mouth. The force that built up in his airways was so immense that it literally tore open his windpipe. It's extremely rare to pass away from this, but nonetheless, holding in a sneeze just isn't worth gambling your life. Christmas trees. There's no better feeling in the world than to finish setting up your Christmas tree just in time for the holidays.
Of course, my nigga.
Nothing beats a Christmas with fruitcake, eggnog, and a house fire. US fire departments respond to an average of 200 home fires caused by Christmas trees each year. And as you would presume, these fires lead to casualties. Christmas tree house fires are significantly more dangerous than normal fires in your home. This is because these fires usually occur at night or early morning when people have gone to sleep but left all of their decorations plugged in and lit up. They're usually caused by candles that were placed too close to the tree, faulty wires, or heat caused by all of the decorative electrical elements. And as opposed to normal house fires that are slow and steady in their startup, Christmas fires with a dry tree can ignite and spread across a room in less than just 30 seconds.
Wow.
So, with that being said, try not to get too carried away with your holiday spirit this year.
You really can't do nothing.
Doing nothing. You see that signs can fall on you, beverages can explode in your face, and that Christmas trees can set you ablaze in your sleep. So you decide that the best course of action for you to avoid all danger is doing absolutely nothing. And then you explode into a ferocious blaze, so powerful that it leaves nothing but your feet behind. Weirdly enough, nothing else around you is affected. Not the couch you were sitting on, not the table in front of you, not the rug on the floor. Nothing. Just only specifically you. This is known as spontaneous human combustion, and there are many cases in the US about it. However, scientists nowadays discredit it fully and dub it as nothing more than a myth. They rather believe it to be the wick effect, which is when a person's clothing absorbs melted body fat during a fire and causes them to burn up, but leaves their surroundings relatively unharmed.
What?
Others feel like this isn't a sufficient enough explanation to the phenomenon though. They argue that if the fire's hot enough to consume you entirely and leave nothing but ashes behind, then it should also scorch nearby walls, furniture, and flooring. They also say for the wick effect to be true, it needs a clear spark, like a lighter or a candle. But in many of the cases, the victims aren't found with anything heat-related. Toilet time. In Chicago, in 1987, a 70-year-old woman would board a cruise ship with her family. As they explored the wonders on board and enjoyed the pleasant feeling of being on the ocean, the old lady would be greeted with another, less than pleasant feeling. So she excused herself from her family and made her way to the ship's bathroom, and there she was greeted with the solution to her bowel troubles: the toilet. She closed the door behind her, sat on the seat, and did her business in peace. Minutes later, the ship's medical personnel would rush past the family to the bathroom where their grandma was last seen. Out of concern, the family would follow, and as if it were a scene straight out of a horror movie, they would be met with the sight of their grandma. Her insides were literally sucked out of her body by the ship's vacuum toilet. She was rushed to the emergency room once the cruise docked at a port. And even though cases like these are extraordinarily rare, toilets have been shown to cause lethal harm to civilians in other ways. Take, for instance, exploding. In 2017, a federal class action lawsuit was filed against a toilet company called American Standard after it received 300 reports of its toilets literally blowing up. And even this year, in 2025, a 20-year-old man suffered serious burn injuries after he pressed the flush button on his toilet and it responded with a loud explosive bang. He was rushed to a hospital where doctors revealed that 35% of his body was burned horribly by the explosion, but luckily he survived. If you couldn't tell, this was a birthday special for the channel. It's my way of thanking you guys for all the support you've given me this year. In just 2 months, we grew from 10,000 subscribers to over 200.
Alright, no promo for you, nigga. That's crazy, though. This is fire. Blind dating 7 guys before and after.